So if you're a guy out there in the dating scene, you've probably noticed this by now. On one side, you've got all of the Chads, these guys with the good genetics. They've got great bodies. They seem to be having a lot of fun short flings and seemingly have zero problems in their love life. But on the other side, you've got the simps. These are the overgiving, the guys who are getting cheated on, making a fool of themselves, and getting blindsided by women, right? And if you're just a normal guy, it kind of feels like there's no place for you. Okay. You're not really a fitness model, but you're definitely not a doormat like the simps are either. So, one thing that's not talked about a lot because it really doesn't get a lot of clicks is that there is a third type of a man. And this is a normal masculine guy who leads, he jokes, he flirts, doesn't chase, but he quietly wins with women who respect him. So if you've been wanting to find a girl but keep getting the same results with women and you're blaming either modern dating or the statistics, then this video is going to show you why that mindset is keeping you stuck and how to start winning in your world with your own circumstances. So the first thing that I want to say is that this video is not going to be pointing fingers at any given group, putting blame on them. I just want to show you guys and paint a different picture that hopefully you guys can get some inspiration from if you do happen to consider yourself a normal guy. When you look at Chads, they seem to have no problems and everything's going well. And let's be honest, a lot of the Chads, they do have a lot of success because of their physical appearance. Women love that and it does get more attention. But a lot of you guys, you might not be that, you might not look like that, right? You don't have that level of body and you don't have the jawline, the hair, whatever it happens to be that you consider to be a Chad. But at the same time, you're not over on this other side either of being a simp, okay? You're not some dorky, goofy guy who has no game whatsoever. You're not a guy who's sitting there standing outside holding flowers every single day and saying good morning each and every day. You don't identify with this guy either. So you're kind of like, okay, I'm not really a Chad. Definitely not a simp. So where do I fall into this? And the thing is that most of the content that men see, it's either one of these two types of a guys. And you think if I'm not a Chad, then I'm probably a simp. Or, but again, most guys don't want to ever consider themselves this. So even if you say, well, I'm just an average guy, there's no hope for me because everything seems to reward just the Chads. And we're not going to deny that that doesn't happen. Chads do get a fair amount of action just because of that one single virtue. But we have to also admit and acknowledge that there are plenty of normal guys out there in the world who are successful with attracting women and dating women. And this is what I want to point out with you guys today. Now, here's the thing. A lot of you guys consider yourself a normal guy, but you're still struggling with dating, which is why you're thinking, okay, there's just absolutely zero hope for me. But here's the thing, because I've coached so many guys over the years who are normal guys just like you. I've coached Chads too, and I've coached, to be honest with you, the simps, most of the men that I work with are normal guys or Chads. Simps usually don't have the self-awareness to think that they're doing something wrong. They are stuck in a blue pill mindset and they don't really think that they need to change. So most of the men that I coach are either very normal guys or sort of swinging towards the Chad end of things, okay? So here's the problem that, again, this doesn't get talked about a lot because it's not clickbait worthy. It doesn't create a huge dopamine rush in the viewer. But here's what it is. If you're a normal guy who isn't as successful with women as he's hoped to be, it's probably you're lacking one of these three things, or maybe it could be all three, maybe two of the three. But what they are is one, it's leadership, two, knowing how to be charming and playful, and three, exhibiting non-needy behavior. Now, before you say, well, I do all those things, I still can't win. This is where it gets tricky for many of you. You think you're doing those things, but chances are you're not. That is the cold, harsh reality that you have to be able to acknowledge if you continue to not get results. Because like I said, I talk to so many men who think they're doing everything right, and they say to me, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I did everything right. But when I start to ask the questions, I start to see through the cracks. Okay. And like I said, it's either they're not being leaders, they're not super charming and playful, or they are exhibiting needy behavior that they're not aware of. So it's really a matter of just these three things. So I don't want you guys to just completely fall off and get that, black pill mindset. But even if you did, like I said, I don't blame you. And here's the other thing. Many of you guys, if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s even, you've grown up in a society that never really showed you what these behaviors look like. If you grew up watching TV, if you grew up watching movies, if you grew up listening to pop music, the messaging that you hear has trained you, has programmed you to behave in ways that do not help you with women. And, the whole purpose of my channel is to offer you new insights to change your programming so you can succeed. Because like I've said before, when I was younger, I was making the same mistakes, and it was frustrating because you think you're doing everything right until someone finally opens up your eyes and you realize, okay, there are some things that I do need to be changing, but you have to be able to admit those things. Okay. Now, I want to do one quick thing. This is for the guys out there who still stay stuck and say, hey, you know what? I'll never get, I'll never understand dating. I'll never get good with women. I can do the exact same thing, right? I could take on a very negative attitude, and I have plenty of reasons to take on a negative attitude. I have a lot of things that if I looked at them, I could say, these are all the things that will not make me successful, and I could stay stuck. So I'm going to share with you those things just so you can see that, again, I'm a normal guy like many of you. I had my fair share of struggles, but I've had a lot of success as well. So let me show you the things that I could focus on just to completely give up, right? So the first thing is I'm mixed Asian, okay? We all know Asian guys are pretty low when it comes to being like objects of desire, right? It's like, Asian guys, we all know the stereotypes about them, right? So I could have said like, you know what? I'm Asian. I'm not going to even try because no one thinks they're attractive anyway, so forget about it, right? So that's one thing. Two, I'm only 5'8". I'm not a tall guy. I'm not short either. I'm very middle of the road. But again, how many guys have you heard, or maybe you thought this yourself, oh, I'm not tall enough, so the game's rigged. I'm out of here. I'm done. I'm not going to even try. I could have said that as well. But I can't control those things, so I make do with what I have. Third thing, I'm average build. I'm not a giant Chad. When I grew up, I didn't really play sports. I just didn't have that, culture, that lifestyle of working out or playing sports and, getting very ripped like some of my classmates were. I had hockey players, basketball players, football players. These guys were, the jocks, right? I grew up in the 80s and the 90s. We called them jocks back in the day. These guys like, woo, well endowed, awesome. I never really had that. Okay, so I could use that and say, hey, I give up because I'm never going to be a Chad. I don't have that look, the all-American, look, whatever. I could have said that. Okay. And of course, lastly, I don't drive a Lambo. So if we look at social media where you got to be just Mr. Moneybags, drive the exotic cars, Mr. just money shooting everywhere, then by that standard alone, I could just say, hey, I'm a failure because I'm not living in Miami at the top penthouse. I could have said that, right? So you can see that there's so many things that even myself I could look at to stop myself from succeeding. I could just totally give up and be like, yeah, I have so many things going against me. What's the point in even trying? Well, the point is because real life isn't as clean and clear cut as you see. It's not just made up of Chads and simps. That's just not the world. There are a lot of middle ground men who can succeed with some adjustment and with the right guidance. Okay, so we're gonna do a little breakdown. This is just a little visual. It's so we can do a quick little diagnostic for you guys. I came up with this because I was trying to like categorize different men out there just to show you how I see certain things. Okay, this is not about shame. There's no ego involved here. Just to kind of really break down what's going on. Okay, so first we have a Chad. Okay, let's just talk about the Chads. Okay, you have a Chad who's got no game. All right, so now this guy gets a lot of action because of his looks, but it never seems to last. Women bounce once the novelty fades. I've coached quite a few of these guys. Now there's the Chad who's got game. Okay, so this guy has a lot of action and longevity, but let's be honest, this is not most guys. There are definitely plenty of them out there, but most guys are not this particular kind of a guy. And even when it comes to the Chads, there are a lot of them who don't have game, even though, you know, sometimes it's hard to admit that or hard to realize that, but it's true. Okay, the next one we have is a simp who's got no game. All right, this is not a category that's fun to be in. Almost no action, no longevity. This is the guy who never gets out of the friend zone. All right, now we have the simp who maybe has some game. Okay, now this is the guy who might get some action, but usually ends up with a dominant masculine woman who runs the show. And longevity, maybe he does get this, but it's not the type of dynamic that most men enjoy. He's usually walking on eggshells. He feels constantly worried about her leaving him. He's not really leading it and feeling like a man. All right, and now we have the normal guy. Okay, we have the normal guy who's got no game. All right, and these guys usually have some occasional action, some short-term flings, but things tend to fizzle out because he doesn't know how to lead or hold frame. Okay, how many of you guys have maybe can think you're kind of in this zone? And now lastly, we have the normal guy who has game, and this is where the real wins happen. Okay, these guys have a solid dating life. They make real connections with women. They definitely experience longevity because they know how to build attraction, so women really, you know, they're drawn to them. And they meet and attract and date women, feminine women, who respect him. This is the lane that I'm teaching you guys to step into. This is what my whole channel is all about, is learning to be a sophisticated scoundrel. Okay, so I hope you guys see this and can do a little self-diagnosis. Okay, maybe, you know, you can see some room for improvement. And again, sometimes it does hurt to admit you could improve. I was there. I remember being in my 20s, even in my early 30s, thinking, I got this covered. It's just that women, you know, women are the problem. But then it's like, okay, if I get real honest with myself, what could I do differently that could potentially up my chances? And I started to execute those things. And again, it's the three things that I told you guys. It's learning how to lead, learning how to be charming and playful, and learning how to not be needy when it comes to women. Just these three things alone will just change your dating life completely. Okay? There are other things once you get into the weeds, but these three things, just to keep it simple, are huge. So if you are a guy who, you know, maybe you are one of those guys that I'm talking about who, you know, you get some sporadic success, but you want more consistency and you want to actually know what works and how you can fix with more detail your dating life so you can have a better dating life and better relationships, click that link down below and book a free consultation with me. It's free, and it's an opportunity for you and I to just chat so I can learn about you, what you're struggling with, what's been holding you back. And if it seems like it'd be a good fit for us to work together, then I'll walk you through how the coaching works and we can get you started right away. The end of the year is coming. 2025 is almost over. A lot of guys are ready to start 2026 with some oomph. They want to get that year started so the rest of it is rocking and rolling. And a lot of guys sign up to work with me at this time. So this will be a perfect opportunity for you to book something to potentially get you started for 2026. Okay. All right, guys, that does it for this video. I will see you in the next one.